oh, I don't have time. I don't have time to take that walk, or I don't have time, to work out or go on the bike for an hour. What would be your response to that excuse?
My response is that everybody finds time to do things that are important to them. And if they say I don't have time for it, that just means it's not important enough to them.
Yeah.
In fact, people I'm coaching, some people, if they're working 12, 14, 16 hours a day, and I ask them, why are you doing it? And they say, well, I'm doing it for my family. And I say, well, your family never sees you.
You're tuning into the Journey to Your Best Self podcast, where we explore the past holistic well-being, personal growth, and living a fulfilling life. Each episode, we bring you insightful conversations, practical tools, and inspiring stories to help you integrate your mind, body, and spirit on your journey to becoming your best self. Let's dive in and embark on this journey together. All right, welcome back to Journey to Yourself podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian O'Neill, and I'm joined by our amazing co-host, Tara O'Neill, clinical hypnotherapist, life coach, and yoga instructor. Together, we're here to help you navigate your journey to a more balanced and fulfilling life. Today, really excited, thrilled to have special guest, Angelo Valenti, an expert in finding joy, contentment, and self-acceptance. He is the author of the impactful new book that you definitely have to check out. You're Making This Way Too Hard. Find your easy way to enjoy life. And we'll talk about the spelling of that, which is unique and definitely will separate it. So let's dive into how finding joy, building strong relationships, and fostering a positive culture can lead to greater business and financial success. Angelo, we're so happy to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're really thrilled. There's a lot of places we can go. You've been coaching, helping out, consulting, building leadership, kind of inspiring people for decades now. But with the new book, front and center, I'd just like to kind of ask the general question for the uninitiated. What's your book about?
My book is about finding, as the book says, find your easy way to enjoy life. And what it's about is finding the joy, or refinding the joy that you had at other points in your life. When you were a 4 or 5-year-old child or a 6-year-old child, I'll bet you were happy 99.9% of the time. You were out having fun. You could find ways to have fun, enjoy yourself, smile, for no particular reason, just jumping in a puddle, petting a puppy, looking at a sunrise, all those simple things that are easy to do when your mind isn't cluttered with all of the crap that we're bombarded with every day. And the reason I wrote the book is because so many people today seem to have what society says is success. But they just don't seem to be enjoying themselves. They're not enjoying the fruits of their labor. They're still worried. They're anxious. Their whole day depends on how many clicks they get on social media, which is a terrible way to go through life, in my opinion. So I just wanted to find a way in a simple format. The book is very easy to read. It's very down to earth. I include several of my personal stories to let people know that I'm not perfect and I've been through some crap myself, just to help them rekindle that joy and find self-acceptance. This isn't a self-help book. I say it right on the front end. It's a self-acceptance book.
And I think,
Tara, that's right up your alley. That's something I could imagine you saying. This isn't a self-help. This isn't a help episode. This is a self-acceptance episode.
I love it.
On that note, working our way backwards, it seems there must be something about the place you are right now that makes this the right time to write the book, because inherently there seems to be a bit of a contradiction between the successes that you mentioned in this book compared to the successes that the businesses and the business leaders you were talking to and consulting with, right? Because in the business world, success is traditionally, classically defined a certain way. And, petting puppies might not be that way, right? Counting dollars might be that
Right.
success way. So what in this point in your life has, led you to define success maybe differently than you did then, or how has that definition of success from your point of view evolved?
I think I've probably always had a little bit different outlook on life just because of my own experiences. But I suppose when I was in my 40s, when I first started my practice in my 30s,
Mm,
I was
mhm,
33 years old when I started my consulting practice in the middle of a recession. I
mm,
think my definition of success was probably keeping the doors open for a year and managed to survive that and been through several ups and downs in both my professional life and my personal life and
mm,
had an opportunity to observe leaders, business people, various levels in the organization, from entrepreneurs to CEOs of multi-billion-dollar companies. And the successful, in my definition of success, the
mm,
successful leaders always take joy not in the bottom line. They take joy in what impact they can make on the people that work in that business and in their customers. They take joy in the journey and not the destination. The quarterly results are the destination. And the great leaders are looking, how can I develop the people that work with me? How can I inspire them? How can I motivate them? And I've seen some leaders who are not very good, and I've seen some
Yeah.
who are just fantastic. They run the gamut, but all of the great ones are more concerned about how they can serve the people that they work with and the customers and the community that they work in, more so than worrying so much about the bottom.
excellent. Now, when the not or not great yet leaders, or the ones that had that blind spot to the success as you see it now with finding the joy and the culture within their companies, um, you know, what was the result when they were so laser focused on, those quarterly reports and, being in the black and, continuing to kind of grow and profit? What did you see um, happen to them, because they didn't, have a more open mind about success?
Well, what you see more often than not is burnout because they're working
Mm,
towards something that
okay.
really isn't meaningful to them. Quarterly results are great until the next quarter comes up. You're always chasing something that you can never
Mm,
catch. And in many of those cases, those leaders end up leaving to start their own business, something that they're truly passionate about, or they'll
mm,
sell the business to somebody else and let them worry about it and cash out and buy a cabin in Montana or start another business. But I don't think that the quest for those quarterly results or the quest for the almighty dollar leads to
mm,
long-term fulfillment. I think it's more of a byproduct. If it's a byproduct of doing something that you love and you're truly passionate about, then
mhm.
good for you. But if not, you're kind of doomed to a life of always chasing something that you're never going to catch, and that when you do catch it, it doesn't mean anything.
Fascinating. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, very
It,
insightful.
it, it, I mean, it's very aligned with the laws of the universe in a practical way. What might you tell someone that is following their joy, maybe starting coaching or consulting and love what they do, but the money doesn't seem to be flowing, or they don't have that connection to asking for money? Is it is it a fear of receiving? Do they have to put more time in? Do they have to find more support? Is there a practical tip or tip that you could give to that new entrepreneur following their passion and joy?
Um, Believe me, I've asked that question myself more
Okay.
than once. Um, in fact, I was hesitant to start my own practice because I've always considered myself to be a terrible salesperson. And I'm an introvert by nature. I just happened to get a tremendous opportunity laid at my feet, basically. And to my own credit, I did have the courage to take that leap and do it. But there were times when I started out that I'd be sitting at my desk wondering where my next project was going to come from, wondering where my next dollar was going to come from. So I would encourage anybody who wants to embark on that journey and to associate yourself, build relationships with people who are successful in the business world and who are fun to be around. Those two things have to be aligned with one another. And if you associate yourself with people who are successful and who are fun to be around, and you're a fun person to be around, you will find connections that will allow you to grow your business. They'll come up with, can I tell you a story about how I got my biggest client?
Sure. Please.
Okay. And this was 1989, 1990, right in there. So I was a member of a country club. I love to play golf. Golf's my non-working passion. So I was playing golf. I had my regular group that we played with, and one of the members of my regular group had left recently to take a job in a different city. So we had an opening. And one of the guys at the club, who I kind of knew peripherally, didn't know him very well, asked if he could join our group. So we said, sure, good guy, good player. And so we played for 4 or 5 months. He played with us in the same group for 4 or 5 months. And I make a practice of never talking about work when I'm golfing, because that's my fun time.
Okay.
But if somebody asks, I'll tell them.
Right.
So what happened was, one of the guys I play with on a regular basis happened to be one of my clients. And I'd worked with him for a while. At the time, he had a printing business, which printing businesses hardly exist anymore, but he had a very successful printing business. The new guy in the group asked him, what does Angelo do exactly? And he said, oh, he's a psychologist and he's a consultant, and he does this and this and this for me. He coaches me. He helps me interview people, hire the right people, helps me with my team building. So after we're done playing, the new guy's name is Larry, by the way. Larry says, will you come to my office so we can talk for a little while? Sure. So we talk. I go to his office that Monday, and we already knew each other, so we had a very, informal, fun kind. Tell me a little bit more about what you do. And from there, I ended up with a 30-year relationship.
Wow.
With that client, and it's a big, big national company. Big.
That's excellent.
And that was, did I do anything to create that? I think what I did was I was a fun guy to play golf with. And I was a nice guy, and I was doing good work for my buddy who was also a client, and that's all it took. If I had to develop that relationship for myself, by myself, never would have happened.
Right. The stars aligned. It happened organically, and
yes.
And I think that it's sometimes hard for us to see like how joy, not pushing, not forcing, not like making it happen, can bring us these things. So like, how do we reframe that? And would you say it is like practice doing things like kid like?
Yeah, I think it's just doing something that brings you joy every day, and approaching each day with a smile on your face and excited to face whatever that day brings. And sometimes, I like to say, some days are better than others, but there are no bad days. But some days that aren't better than others can be not that good, really. But if you approach it with a positive attitude, you'll get through it better for sure. And I really think joyful, happy, self-accepting people are magnets for other people. I think people are drawn to people who are enjoying their life. And in my book, I mentioned that, there's an old saying that misery loves company, and I think that's wrong. Misery doesn't love company. Misery loves miserable company. Miserable people don't want to be around happy people, and happy people don't want to be around miserable people. So I think if you're a happy person who's enjoying themselves and has a smile on their face, and they're helpful, and they are empathetic, and they really care about people are going to be drawn to you, whether you want them or not.
Whether you want them or not.
As
another
as
issue.
an introvert, there's sometimes I wish
whoa.
to just kind of back off a little bit, but
for sure.
Yeah.
So you could say it's not the list of your resume.
Tara. Just had there was an echo coming from Tara's mic. I just, it's easier to fix it in the line rather than doing it on the back end. So I'll just
Cool.
it out. But on the top of that joy, that the ups and downs, good, some days are better than others. Surrounding yourself with other people that are fun to be around, are a good time, are joyful, are pleasant, have that disposition, is great. But what are some things people can do to maintain that joy through the ups and downs? I mean, like you said, you don't focus necessarily and ride or die on those quarterly reports necessarily, but there are good days and bad interactions with coworkers, interactions with clients that can be challenging. The work-life balance, your personal life is affecting your work life. What are some, strategies or techniques or habits that people can and should utilize to keep that joy and that disposition where you need it to be?
Well, I think one of the first things that people can do and should do is take care of your body as much as you possibly can. This is something that most people have control over. Not everybody's. If you have debilitating disease or you're born with some kind of condition, there's not always something you can do about it. But given if you're kind of not under one of those conditions, everybody can take a walk. I mentioned this in my book. I take a walk every morning in the woods. It takes me about 50 minutes. I'm walking around a lake. I did it this morning. It's beautiful. I saw a deer. I saw a bald eagle flying around.
Wow.
I didn't see any owls, but I heard a couple of them. And if you can't put yourself in a peaceful frame of mind, walking in the woods or walking in nature, just communing with nature, you might have some deeper issues that I'm not prepared to help you with.
This isn't going to address
this episode, right?
And so try to eat a little bit better. And I'm not a fanatic about any of this stuff. When I say exercise, I mean, you don't have to run a marathon. I always tell people that, remember, all the dead people on Mount Everest were once highly motivated people. So you don't have to take it to that extreme. Just take a walk. Do something. If you like bicycling, take a little bicycle ride. Don't kill yourself doing it, but help the blood flow, get the heart pounding a little bit, and get outside. I think you don't have to quit eating the stuff that you like to eat, but instead of eating a whole bag of potato chips, eat a quarter of a bag of potato chips. That's a good place to start. Yeah. And it'd be easier to quit if you're just eating a quarter than if you're eating the whole thing. Another thing I really believe in is naps. I think if you can find some way to take a 30-minute nap, usually right about the time we're talking now, 2:00 in the afternoon, it can help you. It can revitalize you. And in many cultures, naps are the norm. In our culture, they're kind of frowned upon. We're looked at as lazy or not really being productive. But I think a 30-minute nap can do wonders for you.
Now, can you actually tell, a difference if, say, you go the weekend or time without that walk or without that activity, the physical movement to start your day?
Absolutely. In fact, last month, my wife and I went on kind of a private cruise. I won't go into detail at the request of my hosts. But let's just say we were cruising up in the Pacific Northwest, and I was on a boat for 5 days.
Not a lot of walking.
No gym on the boat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can only walk around a boat so many times, right?
Sure,
So
sure, sure.
I didn't get the same level uh, of exercise. And again, I only walk 50 minutes to an hour every day. It's not
Right.
like I'm walking all day.
Sure.
But I noticed I have a Fitbit that monitors my heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that, my heart rate's usually about 60. And at the end of that week,
Mm-hmm.
my heart rate was over 70, my resting heart rate.
Wow.
And it took a week of getting back into my routine of walking to get it back down into the low 60s. And it took 2 or 3 weeks to get it back down to 60 or 59 where it usually is. Oh, and it becomes, it's a good addiction. It's a positive addiction.
Yeah.
You know,
And
you
back
don't,
back
go
to
ahead.
your point of the child, right? So we're 4, 5, 6 years old. Like we're running around, right? We're
All the
moving
time.
our body. So
Move,
like
yes.
that mind body connection is so important. And it almost sounds like eating and working out is almost the easiest thing, right? It's like the low hanging fruit. Like that could set us up for all of the more
Yes.
challenging things. So it's like if we could kind of get that out of the way, make that our normal addiction and routine. I think we can't reiterate that enough, like to people. Like it
And
might
you can,
seem simple, but it has to be done in a way.
yes, and you can get withdrawal symptoms if you get used to doing those good things for your body. And if you don't get the opportunity to do them, you miss it. You feel less
Yeah,
because you're not doing it.
sure. Yeah, and you don't realize how much it's helping until you stop almost.
Right. And those are things that are under your control. You can make those decisions,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I mean, it doesn't require anybody else. It doesn't require any special equipment. It doesn't, all it requires is the discipline and the decision to do it.
Well, how would you respond to someone that would say starting these good habits is something that we see is a big struggle, right, for people? You're not just having the discipline, but just jumping off, right? Just stepping out of the nest, just taking that first step. What would you say to people that they think that just being busy as they see it, or emailing, or just anything related to maybe their work or their business that they're starting up is what they should be doing. So, I don't have time. I don't have time to take that walk, or I don't have time, to work out or go on the bike for an hour. What would be your response to that excuse?
My response is that everybody finds time to do things that are important to them. And if they say I don't have time for it, that just means it's not important enough to them.
Yeah.
In fact, people I'm coaching, some people, if they're working 12, 14, 16 hours a day, and I ask them, why are you doing it? And they say, well, I'm doing it for my family. And I say, well, your family never sees you. You're working all the time. Did you ever ask them whether they'd like you to cut back a little bit, maybe work 10 hours a day and then be home for dinner, or be home to put the kids to bed, or be home to take your spouse out for a nice dinner? So they're working those 16 hours a day because for them, that's the most important thing,
Right.
even if
Absolutely.
they tell you it's not.
Right. Absolutely. It comes down to their values, whether they
The
define them
relationships,
consciously
I
or
mean, that
not.
connects. Gotcha.
I was going to switch back to ask about the morning routine. I was curious if you could share your morning and nighttime routine for our listeners, because we're always trying to get them to get their own unique one that fits for them.
Right.
Any tips or tricks for you
Well,
specifically?
for me, I'm lucky because I have my own business, and that means I can make my own schedule. And I very seldom book appointments before 10 o'clock in the morning, just because I can't.
Sure.
So I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning when my dog jumps on my face and says it's time to go for a walk. So I get up, I walk the dog, make sure I take my vitamins and supplements and all the good stuff to get me going. Head to, which is 15 minutes away from my house, head to the state park where I walk, and I'll take a walk. 8 o'clock, I go to the club that I mentioned, my country club, and have a little bit of breakfast, drink coffee, return some emails if I have any that are urgent that need to be, and take a shower and come back to my home office and get to work. And
Love
then at night, my wife works very hard also, so we're in bed by 8:30 or 9 o'clock every night. And I'll read for 30 minutes and try to get to sleep by 9:30 or 10.
And can you reiterate the importance of sleep for our listeners too?
Sleep is critically important. Sleep not only rejuvenates your body, but gives your mind a chance to do a little brain dump. And sometimes you come up with some very good creative ideas while you're sleeping. But mostly it kind of clears some of the cobwebs from the daily activities. So if you're not getting enough sleep and you're not eating properly, is different from person to person. But, if you're doing the basic things, drinking enough water, just generally taking a little bit better care of yourself, the benefits are going to be unbelievable for you. I mean, you won't even recognize yourself.
Yeah, we could argue that some people don't even know what it's like to feel good.
Oh, right. And you can get used to feeling bad, and you don't really, and it doesn't feel bad until you're not feeling bad anymore. I went bad a few years ago. I had a little health problem. I had to have surgery, and when I recovered from the surgery, I told my wife that I didn't realize how used to I had gotten of feeling bad until I didn't feel bad anymore. And since
right.
that was more than 5 years ago, I haven't felt bad a day since. But if people just realize that those simple things that you do to take care of yourself are so critically important, and you can't emphasize it enough. And some people think it's selfish if you're taking care of yourself, and I've always believed that if you don't take care of yourself, how are you supposed to take care of anybody else?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, on that note, transition to others. You had mentioned relationships at home, your personal life, the work-life balance you can't forget. When you are at work, there are other relationships as well, right? And you talk about how that is really important to success, in the business world. When we're talking about leaders or entrepreneurs or people that are in charge or supervising, what's the importance of really good relationships with, the people that are part of the team or the extended team?
I think the critical thing for those leaders is to remember that a touch point from a leader, hello, a quick phone call, an email, a text, has a much bigger impact on the person receiving that further down into the organization than it does on on the leader. It's important for the leader to do that. And I'll never forget, back in the early 80s, I had an opportunity to do some work with Dollar General Corporation. And they were in Scottsville, Kentucky, about 50 miles north of Nashville. That was their corporate headquarters before they moved down to Nashville and became gigantic. Well, the leader, CEO at the time, was Cal Turner Jr., who was the son of the founder. And we had a meeting in his office, and we were going out to go to a couple of his stores. And between the office and his car was a warehouse. And he must have said hello and made a personal comment about 15 or 20 people in the warehouse. Hi, how's your sister doing? I heard she was sick. How are your kids doing in school? Or great job on that thing you did last week. Something. He had that personal connection with people who probably didn't even know where the corporate office, how to get upstairs to the corporate office. It didn't matter. He had that personal touch with them. And as a result, he was beloved as a leader because he genuinely, you can't fake that.
Sure.
He genuinely cared about all those people.
That connection was authentic.
Yes, it was authentic, absolutely.
Excellent. Back to the book.
Yes.
I think, we've missed the beginning. I mean, the beginning of the title was the beginning of the title for a reason. You're making this way too hard. What are people doing? What traps are they falling into? What mistakes are they making? What are they how and what are they making way too hard?
Well, you think about it. Self-doubt makes life way too hard. Envy.
Mm.
I think we are a society that's almost consumed with envy. We see what other people supposedly have and supposedly are doing, and we wonder why we don't have that. And I think social media has done a great job in a negative way of contributing to that envy, where we just don't feel like we measure up because we're comparing our life to a scripted, edited video of people who are supposedly doing all these wonderful things and having all these wonderful things. And it's not real, but we've come to believe that it is real. And how are you supposed to measure up to somebody who's in a studio or out, they're doing 15 or 20 or 100 takes on something to make themselves look good? So we're comparing ourselves. Comparing yourself to other people is a game you cannot win. You're going to lose every time. But I think so many people are consumed with that. And the self-doubt, have you started your own businesses? I assume you have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So weren't there a lot of well-meaning people that told you what a stupid idea it was to start your own business?
We
Sure.
may or may not have been talking about that over the weekend. So
Sure. So
yeah.
everybody's got a great idea why you shouldn't do something.
Mhm. And it may be even somebody in your inner circle or
Oh,
someone,
absolutely,
and
absolutely,
that can hit even harder when that happens.
absolutely. So, and if you allow yourself to fall victim to what other people say or think about you, then you're always on defense, right? You're always reacting to what other people say. There's a part of my book about locus of control. You need to have an internal locus of control or an external locus of control. You either
Okay.
believe you control your own life or outside forces control your own life.
Mhm.
And if you believe outside forces control your life, you're a puppet. And if you believe you control your own life, you're the puppeteer. Would you rather be the puppeteer or would you rather be the puppet? And so many of us allow ourselves to become the puppet. We're letting everybody else pull the strings. And as a result, we have no control over our own life, or we feel like we don't.
And
What is the solution? What's the response when you get that kind of negative, analysis, or you get that really almost toxic, not constructive at all criticism? You had mentioned there being 33 when you started
Right.
this stage, right? I'm sure you had previous ventures and jobs and things like that. Maybe you didn't have the tools that you have now, but now, what does Angelo do if he has somebody that says, "Oh, I don't know, that's not a great idea," or you're not going to be able to write this book and sell as many copies as you want, this, that, and the other thing. You might have the tools to take care of it, but someone that's just starting out, what should they do? How should they react? How should they respond?
like how can they strengthen their inner uniqueness, and self-concept?
Well, the way to strengthen that is to recognize that nobody cares about you as much as you care about you.
Hmm.
So take their opinion, and some people have good advice. You can take their advice and put it where in the advice pile, and some of it's good and some of it's not so good. But you should value your own dream, your own vision, your own point of view, your own opinion more than you value other people's opinion.
Yeah. I mean,
Well
and
said.
could you say that's a practice?
Yes, absolutely it's a practice.
Yeah.
But you have to develop a sense of self-worth and a sense of self-love first. In order to value your opinion, you have to believe that your opinion's worthy and that you're worthy.
Yeah.
So that self-love is critically important.
Yeah. And we're not taught that from the message from the social media, right? It's not
no.
like, yeah. So would you tell your clients, or when you're consulting, do you tell them to, take a break from certain media, like, like some sort of a cleanse of all the noise out there?
Well, that really depends on the person. For most people, I would suggest to them just look at it as entertainment instead of information.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it. If you view Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and X or whatever, more like you do Netflix
Yeah.
and less like you do the news, although you can't trust the news anymore either. Look at it as entertainment and take it with a grain of salt and learn to laugh at the nonsense that's out there.
Yeah.
And if you learn to laugh at it, you get a lot of good laughs during the day. There's nothing better than laughing. The more you can laugh, the better off you are.
Yeah, and to me, the title of your book is kind of like, we do take things like too seriously
Oh
sometimes,
yeah,
right? It doesn't
absolutely.
have to be that like serious and intense.
No, it doesn't, and it shouldn't be. I believe life is meant to be enjoyed. We were not put on earth to be miserable, and we have to be taught to be miserable. And there are so many people out there who want to volunteer to be your teacher to teach you how to be miserable, that it's almost you have to just filter out all those people that have a negative vibration or whatever your aura or influence on your life, and focus on people who are have a positive influence on your life. And there are plenty of those too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, when you're done conversing with somebody or connecting with somebody, that you should feel better than
Yes.
before you did, as
Yes.
opposed to after, if you have this heaviness or you like negative thinking, because I do think the more in tune you are, then you can differentiate your energetics from their energetics, and that can
Yes.
guide you.
Yes. And it's easier when you achieve a more joyful, self-accepting state. You may find that your circle changes. Your circle of acquaintances changes. And that's a good thing. Some people are there to be your companion on your journey through life, and some people are just a way station or a stop along the road to teach you a lesson.
Yeah.
And then you move on from it.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anything personal. It just,
it's
it
nothing.
just is,
It's
right? It
nothing
just is.
personal. No. Yeah.
Can we talk about your acronym?
Yeah. Can I show the people
Yeah.
here? Does the video?
Please do. Show the people.
There's my book.
You're making
Find
this
your
way
easy
too
way to enjoy life. All right. Why is enjoy life spelled NJOYLFE? That's the question. That is my license plate. It has been my license plate since 1991. And it's been on every car that I've had since 1991. And I get comments everywhere.
I was going to say, you get people at stoplights that roll in the window.
Mostly when I'm getting gas, because
Right.
everybody's stationary, so it's easier. And 99.9 people, percent of the people will say, "What a great license plate! I love it." And I tell them, it's not a license plate; it's a philosophy. Just go practice the philosophy. And 1 out of 100 or 1,000 will say, "Why do you have no joy in life on your license plate?" And I'd say, why would I have that on my license plate? Go reevaluate your life. Go for it.
And here's my card.
If they're seeing that, then maybe there's something going on with their
There's something else going on,
right?
It's all perspective.
And can I tell you a quick story? It's in my book. This actually happened. I had my car at the time. It was a Mercedes convertible, SL convertible, nice car. I like cars, so I've been blessed to be able to have nice cars. So it's in a parking lot of a restaurant, and I go to a place to get a to-go order, and I come out, and there's a little note on my windshield. And it said, "I'd enjoy life too if I had millions in the bank and drove a $110,000 Mercedes."
Wow.
So I look around. I wanted to talk to that person so bad because I wanted to tell them that they had cause and effect backwards. I don't enjoy life because I have whatever I have. I have whatever I have because I enjoy life.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Money doesn't make you happy. Stuff doesn't make you happy. The only problems money solves are money problems, and people have developed a distorted view of what it means to be happy. If I just had this, I'd be happy. Well, there's a lot of people that have that and still aren't happy.
Yes, yes, we live in the tri-state area of New York City, and there's a lot of money and there's a lot of anger.
And a lot of psychiatrists too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah,
yes,
good that stay, you chose well with Appalachia, right? Less competition for clients. For, looking back to, and I guess now with the coaching, but with the consulting, you talked about recognizing the real high quality leaders from, the ones that weren't viewing success maybe through the right prism. For those that are aspiring and that are building something now, and then, building a small team, and trying to, influence people and work get somewhere and accomplish goals. Um, is it can they develop that? Can they grow it, or is it just either you have it or you don't? And if yes, they can, kind of develop it. What are some of the steps they should take, or the practices that they should be implementing to get there?
Well, I think some leaders are born and some are made. And some, Shakespeare said some people are born great, some people have, achieve greatness, and some people have greatness thrust upon them. The same thing with leadership. Some people don't know that they're capable of being a leader until they have to be a leader.
Okay.
Through circumstances. But I think anybody who aspires to be a leader, one of the things they can do is try to learn as much about other people, what's important to each person that they're supposed to be leading, because it's going to be different for every person.
Okay.
And if you can be empathetic and understanding, emotional intelligence has become kind of a buzzword over the last 10 or 20 years. But I think if you can develop that empathy, the self-awareness, the social awareness, understand what is important to the people that you're leading, and show them a way for them to get what's important to them, you can be a great leader. And as I said, it's different for every person. And a quick example is if you have somebody, let's say you have a single mom working for you, and they have a 10-year-old child, and this mom is a very high performer in your company. She's just doing a great job. And so you want to recognize her for doing that great job. Well, let's say you could choose, you could give her a $500 bonus at the end of the week, or her 10-year-old child is in a school play at 11 o'clock in the morning, or a school program at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Friday. Now, if you said to that single mom, how about if I give you the afternoon off, or give the rest of the day off, leave at 10:30, go to your child's school program, and then take him or her out to lunch after. What's going to be more valuable to that single mom? The $500 or the lifetime memory of being able to go to that child's school program, right? So many bad leaders would say, I'm just going to just throw $500 into their paycheck, and that we'll be done with it.
Can't leave Friday. It's into the week, I'll make it up. I'll make it up to you.
And that's the old paradigm of corporate detachment from workers, you'd say, right? Can we be hopeful that there is a new paradigm where we have more?
I don't think the old style of management works. Although some people are still trying it, it just doesn't work anymore. I think people have higher expectations from their work environment than they used to. I mean, so many people are making lifestyle choices where they won't move to a different city. Where when I started my consulting practice in 1982, if somebody was up for promotion and they were going to have to move from Chicago to Denver, I mean, they just packed up the family and moved to Denver. I mean, that was just part of the deal. And now you'll find people say, well, I mean, I'd love to take that opportunity. Is there a way for me to commute from Chicago? Because my family really likes Chicago. My kids are in a good school. And my wife has all of her friends here, or my husband has all of his friends here, regardless, where they'll make a lifestyle choice that may have a short-term negative impact on their career, but a long-term positive impact on the rest of their life.
Yeah, that's, you got me thinking about, how things have evolved. As an aside, it must have been a pretty exciting time because, like you said, you were coming off of, some economic challenges, crash of '87 later on, but there was so much potential and like boom in the U.S. economy back then as well. It must have been a whirlwind. Like the possibilities must have been endless with the businesses popping up all over, and the hope that those leaders had with the traditional successes. It must have been just kind of wild.
I've enjoyed every step on this 40, right now it's a 42-year-old journey, and I'm not done yet. I'm still having a good time, so I'm going to keep doing it. But it's been fun to watch businesses grow, people grow. It's been fun to watch myself grow a little bit as a person and as a professional also. But you're right. One of the things I've learned is don't let the highs get you too excited, and don't let the lows get you too depressed, because no matter how good or bad it gets, it's going to change. So you really have to have a longer term mindset, and not, for example, a couple of weeks ago, stock market had a big drop.
Right.
Well, most of that's back now. It's recovered most of that now. But the people who panicked and sold out, wish they hadn't, right? So if you take a longer view, not only of business but in life in general, I think that's a good thing.
One of the last things that I wanted to ask Tara, and you get back in here after that, was throughout that journey, was there a moment or a mentor that changed your perspective in a way that you still look back to, or was more impactful than maybe other interactions or relationships that you had that you would share with us?
Actually, two. My first client when I moved to Nashville to set up my practice was the general agent with Northwestern Mutual Life. And his agency covered Nashville, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Huntsville, and Florence, Alabama. So it was middle and eastern Tennessee and northern Alabama. It was a top 10 agency. He'd built a tremendous agency. And this is people selling at the time whole life insurance, which is a hard sell. As he used to say, it's a product with high need and low demand. Everybody needs it, but nobody wants it. Nobody wants to talk about it. So I was helping him hire financial life insurance salesmen, and also coaching him and his leaders. And one of the things he made a practice of doing is before every management meeting, or at the start of every meeting with his management team, he would say to them, what should I be doing more of, less of, or differently? So he had learning mindset. He always wanted to know how he could improve, and he wanted feedback from his team. And the culture of that organization was such that they felt free to give him that feedback. He was sincere. He really wanted to know. And that never left me. And I think one of the qualities of a great leader is wanting feedback. The best in every discipline, whether it's sports, business, music, literature, the art, whatever it might be, the best always want to get better. And they're always willing to take coach. Tiger Woods had a coach for most of his career. Who's better than Tiger Woods? Nobody. But he still had a coach. Tom Brady, even after he'd won several Super Bowls, he was going to a quarterback coach to see if he could improve his throwing motion to do it just a little bit better. The best are never satisfied with their level of performance. They always think it's in a positive way. They're always looking to get better. And I think those are the kinds of leaders that encourage the people on their team to always try to get better and give them the resources to make that happen.
Excellent. Great answer. And it was two parts of it were amazing because the leader had the insight to and the humility to ask for help, right, from his staff, from the rest of from the salesmen, from the rest of the company. But you said something that I wanted to just highlight. The culture was that people were willing to not just say, "You're doing a great job, sir." Like, we're not going to criticize the big boss, right, the one signing the checks, but he must have had an open, inviting atmosphere in there where everyone was trusted each other.
And as a result of that, many of his district managers, like in Knoxville and Chattanooga and so forth, went on to be general agents within the Northwestern Mutual system. He was a pipeline for producing general agents within that system.
Wow.
Which he kind of laughed about as a two-edged sword because he was happy to help the company, but he kept having to develop new district agents because he kept losing them to the home office.
Gotcha.
And can we apply that for our listeners too? The feedback of, what can I do more of, less of, or different?
Well, absolutely. I think you should always be looking for feedback from the right people. The people that have your interests at heart, or the people who have knowledge, information, insights that you don't have that you can benefit from. If you're a coach, people want to come to you because you have insights that they can't figure out themselves that you can help them with, right? Same with my coaching.
Yeah.
People who think they have all the answers are never looking for a coach.
Right.
Right?
And those are the ones that are going to struggle.
They need it, and they need it the most.
They need it the most. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So tell people where they can find you, and a little sneak peek about the book and where they can find that.
Oh, sure. First, the book you can find on Amazon or Audible. I went in the studio and recorded the book myself.
That's awesome.
I did.
Love it.
So it's available on Audible. It's available on my website. If you'd like an autographed copy, you can go to my website, angelovalenti.com, and I'll be happy to send you an autographed copy. That's my author website, angelovalenti.com. An email would be angelo@angelovalenti.com. If you'd like to book a discovery call and find out how we might work together, you can go to reachangelo.com. My consulting website is thecompanypsychologist.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
Can you just real quick, kind of the discovery call, I think it could be very advantageous to a lot of people viewing, listening, kind of prep someone, or just give us a little bit more detail, what that would entail, what they need to be prepared for going into it?
Well, that's a 30-minute call.
Okay.
Where I'm going to ask them basically what's going on in their life that prompted them to want to visit with me. And that, because I don't want to have a canned 30-minute spiel if they're going to book a personal discovery call. I want to know what's going on with them. What's important to them? What are they thinking about? What are they feeling right now? How do they believe that, where do they want to go with their life, and how do they believe that I can help them? And we can talk about it.
Awesome. Excellent.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you so much, sir. We're going to definitely be diving deeper into this book. And now that we know that the smooth sound of the audio file is none other than Dr. Angelo Valenti, it's even more of a reason for everyone to get on Audible and check it out. Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the overall message. Like, we are making it too hard. So the joy. Remember the joy. Remember being a little kid, petting puppies, jumping in the puddles. Like, that stuff sticks with people. So I wanted to just reiterate that. Like, when they're struggling, they're having a tough day, it's not just think positive. It's like actually take that walk, in the woods and do those little childlike, fun, joyful things. So
Yeah, and
thank
the
you.
other successes are sure to follow.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks again,
you,
sir.
Angela.
Thank you.